Hey everyone, in this little video we're going to practice identifying the population, sample, population parameter, and sample statistic of a study. Before we work on this problem here on the screen, let's load up the notes we have for this section. This is chapter 5 in quantitative reasoning. So chapter 5, I'll leave the link to this page in the description of this video. You'll note we already have a couple of videos up here you might want to check out. And in the Notes and Examples tab, we have some really nice notes. We have Chapter 5 definition PDF. You can download this, print it, make note cards, whatever you'd like. This is very handy. Back on this page, we have those definitions again, and also an example that goes with it, similar to this one here. So if you need another example, go ahead and check this out. So let's go ahead, let's use this definition sheet to help us answer the question we have here. So we're going to look at this one. For the study described below, identify the population. A manufacturer of light bulbs wants to determine the lifetime of its 75-watt light bulbs. Among 120 randomly selected 75-watt light bulbs, the average lifetime was 1,007 hours. We need to find the population. Let's just double check what the definition of population is. So, population is the complete set of people or things being studied. It's the big picture. So what is the big picture in this question? Well, they're interested in the lifetime of their 75-watt light bulb. So the things being studied are this company's 75-watt light bulbs. So that would be the population. All of the 75-watt light bulbs manufactured by the company. That's what they're interested in. That's the big picture. So that's that. Okay, so let's identify the sample. Let's look at the definition of sample. All right, so the sample is a group taken from the population. Data is collected from the sample. So if you think about this, all 75-watt light bulbs manufactured by the company, there are probably a lot of light bulbs. It would be not very feasible to take every single 75-watt light bulb, screw it in, turn it on, leave it running, and then figure out how long it was running for. That just doesn't seem, that's not going to work. I mean, so what they're going to do instead is they're going to just look at a group. They're going to look at, in this case, they picked 120 to test out. They can't test out every single one. That could be over 1 million. That just wouldn't work. But they can test out a group or a sample. So the 120 randomly selected 75-watt light bulbs, that is the sample. It's the subset, the group from the population that they are going to use to gather their data. Okay, so next up we are asked to identify the population parameter. Let's just double check what that definition is. Population parameter, or parameters, there might be more than one, but it's the specific numbers describing the characteristics of the population, which is the whole group. So let's see if we can apply that definition. Specific data, let's say, describing the whole population. So remember that the population is all of the 75-watt light bulbs. That's the entire group they're interested in. Now the specific data they're interested in is the, what do they say? The lifetime of all of those light bulbs. So the population parameter would be the average lifetime of all of the light bulbs manufactured by the company. So remember, the population is the group, the big picture group they're interested in. Population parameter is the data they want from that group. In this case, they're looking at average lifetime. So last up, let's see if we can get down to this last question here. We need to find the sample statistic. That definition is also on this printable sheet here. Sample statistic is a number, or it could be multiple numbers. Usually it's just one number. It is describing the sample, the particular group that was studied. Some piece of data that describes the specific group that we looked at. Now back at this question. Remember the specific group that they looked at 120 randomly selected light bulbs. So the sample statistic would have to be data about that specific group. Now, the only specific data we were given about that group was right here. It says among the 120 randomly selected 75-watt light bulbs, the average lifetime was 1,007 hours. That 1,007 hours describes the sample. So that's the data they got from the sample. That is our sample statistic. So here we have it, the population, big picture, sample, the actual group they were able to study, population parameter, big picture information they wanted, and then the sample statistic, the actual information they were able to get from the sample. Usually what we do is, like I said earlier, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, or it's usually not even possible to actually study the entire population, whether it's light bulbs or US citizens or even YCCC students. There's just a lot, and it's not feasible to study all of them or get information from all of it. So we grab a sample. And when you have a sample, you can do your tests. You find the information, like they did here. They found that the average lifetime was 1,007 hours. And what you do is you use that information to make an inference about the population. So even though they weren't able to study every single light bulb they made, they did study 120 of them. They found the average lifetime was 1,007 hours. So they feel pretty comfortable saying that the average lifetime of all of their light bulbs is probably around 1,007 hours. There's more information that we could go into. I don't think we actually go into it very much, but there's a margin of error and confidence intervals and confidence levels where you can get more specific to find out how accurate your sample statistic is and how reliable it is. We don't go into that too much in this class. If you ever take a statistics class, you'll probably go into it more then. If you're interested, I can leave links in the description. You can check them out if you want to know more. But this is all you really need to know for this class here. It's just how to differentiate between those four things. Again, I will leave the link to the SSC help page where you can find our downloads. I'll leave any other resources that I can think of. If you have any questions, as always, please just let me know.